Well, greetings, principles of marketing humans. Welcome to the third video this semester. And today we're going to talk about generations, like the Who we're talking about or singing about right now. So what I want to go over is how different generations are marketed to differently. You may be very different than your parents or your grandparents or your great-grandparents. And so that's what we're talking about today. While the Who are stuttering through my generation, we'll move on to this. So first off, when we talk about generations, we're talking about baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, and then Gen Z, which is mostly you guys. So what I want to do is I want to sort of go over what each generation looks like and how we work with them in terms of marketing. So the generation that is the oldest generation that we actively target are baby boomers. And I am at the end of that particular generation. I'm a cusp. I finished right at the end of the baby boom, and then Gen X started a couple of years or a year after I was born. So realize that this generation is, overwhelmingly white, non-Hispanic white. They have a very high median income, and their median age is right at the retirement age. And so you're seeing this group have some money to spend, and have some money to spend on things that are not necessarily necessities. One of the big things about boomers is they still remember reading magazines and newspapers, and I like to tell people that it's amazing that I survived the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and 90s without having one of these things around. And so I still know how to use a map, and although I'll never have to again. And so this generation grew up with different rules than the generation that's currently growing up. So you need to remember that when you're targeting them. They like long-form advertising. So they like advertising where you have headline and image and body copy, and they like to read all about it. This is very different than subsequent generations. So they do still prefer going to the store. And you have to be very careful with them, because if you start to ask them too much, they're very privacy oriented. You have to remember that, we grew up reading George Orwell's 1984, Fahrenheit 451, when we were in grade school. And so, that Siri is watching right now. We didn't really expect that. So that's the boomers. The next one is Generation X, and this is, again, over, there's more of a diversity mix in Gen X, but still overwhelmingly white in the U.S. And they're a smaller group. So generations tend to roll. Some are much bigger than others. Obviously, the baby boom is huge. But Gen Xers, they're very health oriented. They're they don't default to these. They'd rather use the computer. They do still like long-form content, for all intents and purposes, as much as boomers do. But they're kind of hybrid because they have embraced online shopping. They don't do it quite as quickly or as you know, devicey as the next two, millennials and Gen Z. But they have very high income and a high college attendance percentage. So the next group we have are millennials. Now, these may be your parents or maybe some of the people in the class. So if you were born between 81 and 96, you fall into this group. We're starting to see this group being more diverse in the U.S. And this is when we started seeing message changing. So we need shorter, more direct, very clean messaging. They're not a fan of long-form content. They are distracted. They aren't as distracted as Gen Z can become because, just quite frankly, you have an enormous amount of information being flung at you every day if you own one of these. So there's something to it. I personally believe that a lot of us in my generation, the Boom and Gen X, took a long time to understand how to filter that information. So, you know, we'll see. But millennials, they filter it pretty good. They have good median income. They're right in the middle of their earning years right now. You know, average age is 34, so they're right there. And being direct with millennials works. Trying to beat around the bush. They don't want to be tricked. I guess nobody wants to be tricked, but those of us from the Boom and Gen X, we tend to expect it. You know, there's a saying that we can fool all of the people some of the time and some of the people all the time. But they're not. Even if you're doing it, even if you're having fun with it, they're not a big fan. So they're interesting, and they want more direct advertising. And the last one is most of the people who will be watching this video, Gen Z, born between 97 and 2015. Again, more diverse. Young in age, a median age is 21 years old, just starting. They're very digitally oriented. Basically, you have lived your entire lives with devices, with portable devices that do everything. You know, I saw an image, I don't know, several months ago, where all of the stuff we needed in the 80s, you know, to do what one of these would do, and it filled a room, all the different things. So Gen Zers are they're into online content. They're very, very proud of their time that they give to digital media. They're jealous with it, and so they they want to make sure that when they spend time that there is some social impact involved, and that there's something more to it. Um, there's still, this is an interesting one. Gen Z will still use print, but it's not a good avenue for advertising to them. You want to think about advertising to Gen Z the way you would build a billboard. You want something that they can process in 5 seconds and see, and then, move them toward their device and how to find more information. So you need to be very, very thoughtful about that. Anyway, so that's it's a little long. We've got the children generation, but we're not really worried about them too much. But that's this week's recording. That's this week's on generational targeting, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day.